I'm back. I don't know what happened then. I never.
It wasn't you. It
I
was
wasn't.
it was Frida here. She pulled the plug of the internet.
Oh. I was going to say I was getting really paranoid because I kind of moved my desk. I was like, "What the fuck's going?" That's good. I'm just relieved it's not me. So
No, yeah. I'm. I really need an office. They're cleaning.
You're missing your coffee shop now as well as.
Yeah. No, they're cleaning over here, and yeah, I can't. Yeah, there's
It's a good job we weren't recording a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's like at home, you know. Everyone just walks into the toilet even if you're there, so it's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, privacy's just gone. There's nothing. There's nothing left. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
My name is Carl Powell.
I am Marco Casali.
I'm Lasse Rantala.
Carl Dial. I'm
Escapist.
Hola, soy Marco Casali y ustedes están escuchando
In to the Escapist Corner. Moro! Rantala Lasse tässä terve. Sä kuuntelet Escapist Corneria.
Yeah, so welcome to the Escapist Corner. All right, welcome to the Escapist Corner. Today we have a different and new format. We are doing a Zoom call over Zoom. And today we are going to talk with a famous product designer and design expert who has been coached hundreds and hundreds of SX all over the world. I'm happy to welcome Rob Hamblen to the show. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks. What an intro. Like, I don't think I've ever had a build-up like that before. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
happy to be here. And it feels like I'm almost with you in your little den there under the station. So
yeah. Yeah, before this recording, we just had a small mailer failure because of one of the staff members pulled the plug for an internet, so we had to reconnect here. Anyway, Rob, who are you? Where are you from? And yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
So who am I? So I'm a product designer. I've been a product designer for about 20 years, which is pretty scary. I'm British, originally from the UK. And actually, I emigrated from UK in 2009. And since 2009, I guess we've been a little bit transient in the fact that we've lived in the south of France for a number of years. We've lived in Dubai for a number of years as well. And now I'm here in Berlin. Actually, I say I'm here. I'm here with my family here in Berlin as well. So yeah, been here for 3 years. So we've kind of seen a few countries in the last 10 years. And I have to say that, you know, we've moved mostly for lifestyle choices or for work in that period of time. So yeah, now Berlin, new chapter in Berlin.
How's your German?
Nicht so good. Some might say Scheiße.
Yeah, it's hard in Berlin.
Yeah, it is really hard. Like, I mean, I'm okay in restaurants, but if you put me in the Finanzamt, for example, I'm pretty useless. So yeah, that's the level of my Germanness.
Yeah, and yeah, so you're from UK, and so for people that are listening that are not so familiar to what product design or product designer means, because maybe you can help those guys out, because most people think that you probably just smoke pot and sit in Illustrator, but there's probably more to it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, actually, it's a really good question. So a product designer. So with regards to my career history, I started out in visual design and UX. So for digital products. And in 2003, I made the transition to move to a very small company in the UK that specialized in the design for small screen and mobile. So if you imagine back in 2003, you're probably thinking, well, there weren't so many devices back then, but there was definitely a need for it. So with regards to product design and kind of my experience, I would say it's with digital products, apps, and responsive websites nowadays, if you want to call it that. Anything to do with a product that has an interface and where users need to use it. That's basically where my expertise is.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this field has, at least in my eyes, just grown exponentially the last years. Or how do you see it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. So when I first started in 2003 at the company I just mentioned, that was the company called Trigenics. There were only 5 of us working in this kind of field at that time for that kind of specific kind of product. There was another company maybe had a similar amount of people as well. But other than that, there were probably, you were looking at maybe telcos or like operators that maybe had this kind of speciality. So not very many at all. Like it was a very kind of niche market to kind of get into. And I had the kind of thought that, mobiles are constantly evolving and, they need new UIs or user interfaces. And I figured that this would be a really good space to get into because as technology also evolves, the need to kind of immerse users into really cool interfaces is going to be really required. So yeah, for me it felt like it was a natural career progression, but also back in the day it was really it was almost like you were designing for products that weren't going to be hitting the market for like 3 or 4 years. Back in 2004, I was working on the equivalent of iTunes, but for like operators in the States. So, to kind of work on something like that then people are going to use, 3 or 4 years down the line was really exciting. And also just changing the way in which people actually interact with their devices was also, we were well ahead of our time back in those days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really interesting time. And then, throughout the years, like back in 2012, when the UK was having some sort of recession, the need for designers, product designers, UX designers, information architects, all those people that were responsible for building kind of digital products, there was a strong need for all of those people. So I felt like it's definitely the kind of the right career choice for sure.
Yeah. And also to clarify, maybe, again, you correct me if I'm wrong anytime here, but you have, if we look at the classical designer, where everyone thinks that you're very good at doing some kind of logos or batches or whatever, and you have, but I guess you have some pretty good skills in that too, like in the eye of the classical art director type. But you're more into now. Is it not more into my strategic thinking and actually being making strategical decisions for any kind of it could be logo development, yes, but it could also be like a process development or
yeah, it's a really good question actually. So throughout my career, I've evolved into being, I was actually, before I moved to Berlin, I was creative director for UX for IBM Studios. And now I founded my own company called Leap. And this is where Leap is heavily involved in the strategy for how companies innovate and for actually helping companies work more efficiently with each other and actually building not just products, but actually building the right products. So there's a ton of strategy that has to kind of go into kind of enabling companies to be able to do that and to do that really effectively. I'm working with a client at the moment where I'm actually applying the process of a sprint but for the actual execution of a product. So I'm kind of pulling apart that really kind of like rugged process to kind of innovate for something in 4 weeks, but actually helping them apply that so that this is an ongoing journey that they're going through, you know, with their roadmap and kind of with these feature releases within this product, but actually helping them kind of work more efficiently with each other as well. So yeah, there's it's really exciting. It's not just about the product, it's about the kind of enabling of people and to enable people to be more effective within their day-to-day work as well.
Yeah. So what I'm like from my own experience now and watching this, and where I see, because one thing when you work with the sprints is that you want to take out the, let's say, the fluffiness from creativity, and you know, more or less get to the point faster. And it doesn't matter if you are on the right point, but simply that you start and that you start trying, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's about just putting something out there rather than having the endless discussion about what a product could be. You know, some would say getting started is more important than being right. That was an old aj&smart quote. It resonates very strongly because I was there for a few years. But yeah, it's actually just putting in it, and it's not just about building a product, it's building the right product. And this process enables companies to really you know, build on what their assumptions of what this product could be, and then actually test it with real users as well to kind of know that they're going in the right direction. And then if they feel that the trajectory that they're on is wrong, then they can pivot really quickly and collect the data to help them actually build those products more accurately and to kind of meet demographics. So yeah, it's really powerful for sure.
So what I've discovered myself is going from let's say this classical, we say a logo designer. I see like now the biggest value and the most creative value, and the hardest part, what I think is what you were doing is asking the right questions and to be able to actually take up those things when you work with a client. Now, I haven't seen you working live now with some with your clients, but just from experience, what I've seen you doing this before, when you did like some sprints that I've seen, I just picked it up and I was like, okay, you could actually you heard a different problem than the actual user or the we say the client here. He was looking this direction, he was talking about that, but you were like, oh, wait a minute, isn't this actually the problem? So I think that's and that's something that I think is like super valuable, because we tried to do this now just once or twice to kind of workshop ourselves through some decisions, but it's just super hard when you're facilitating and then you're like, okay, so what's the question here? What's the like, do we need to vote about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's, for me, it's kind of like that's a regular day being a facilitator and being a product designer all in the same kind of workshop. And it's kind of where I get my jollies as well. And it's like just listening. The biggest part there that you mentioned was actually just listening to the client is the biggest thing that you can do. And obviously with the product team that I work with and with my experience, we're able to kind of interpret, you know, those needs differently because of the products that we've already made. It means that we can accelerate, you know, wherever the client is thinking, we're able to accelerate them in a much more advanced place. Because we've already got that experience, because we already kind of know how certain products are going to perform. And that's not to say that, you know, new products come with their own challenges. They do, for sure. And you never really design the same product twice. But the process kind of enables us to kind of like really kind of guide those people through. And also something I also want to mention is the empathy so a typical sprint, it doesn't really factor in the end user until after you've made assumptions and after you've made a product. But actually the empathy of an end user is something that at Leap we do upfront. We try and kind of understand like how that product is going to perform, by actually talking to real customers who might use that product. And even if that product doesn't exist, we try and find a product that already exists that's kind of quite close, to just try and find out where their pain points are. And this is kind of going into the roots of design thinking, with the empathy and trying to understand, where the user is really struggling, so that we as experts can then dissect that and then kind of build on kind of those opportunities where they're having pain points. So this is something that a leap sprint will actually delve more into the psyche behind the end user more upfront. And this is something that we're finding is combining this with the actual sprint process and having our experts all kind of come together and help guide the user, help guide the client team through this journey of what they, a product for their assumptions, what that might be, is really kind of building the full picture really much quicker. And it's helping these companies kind of understand their users more upfront as well. There was Steve Jobs had that famous quote, users or customers, they don't know what they want. They think they know what they want. And there's a lot of truth to that as well. And no one person within that sprint team is like the God Almighty of like the solution for this product. And something I always say whenever I go into workshops is that, I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of ideas of what will and will not work, but it doesn't make me the expert for what exactly that customer wants or whatever that end user actually needs. And this is why I come full circle, at the end of the sprint, when you've got that data, when you put that in front of those five interviewees, that's where the data is why that validates your assumptions that you've made during the week. And hearing the voice of that customer, from that point, if you're playing their voice back, on a moment of like whether this feature worked to like the CEO of a company, they can't argue with that. But they're now surrounded by the experts that can best guide them to kind of making something that would be something that user or that customer would actually want to use.
I'm thinking.
Quite a long answer. Sorry about that. That's quite a long answer.
No, it's good. This is the format where anyone can elaborate how much they want. I'm thinking what's happening too is you're kind of taking out a lot of the guessing from the marketing also. That is going to get combined with this product, right? So, and because I'm thinking a lot of marketing efforts and so on, or companies, they seem scared to talk to clients straight, like, and ask them, what do you actually want, or what do you think about this? And I mean, there are so many classical things when it comes to marketing where they're pushing the totally wrong thing that nobody cares about, like the product features or whatever it might be. And the client is like, I don't care how many layers I can have in this product, like, or in this Photoshop like product. It's like, what can I do with it?
Yeah, and actually, this you've touched on the importance of like who should really be in a team, for example, when you're running sprints, and some of the most successful sprints that I've run have involved people from marketing, and there's so much to be said from the value of including the right people at the beginning of a project, because it's not I take a lot of my value in not just running sprints for people. Anybody can just run and do a sprint for people, for clients or whatever. But I take real pride in actually the success of that product actually going to market and being successful. That's why I'm saying it's not about building a product, it's about building the right product. And a lot of that comes down to the selection and the guidance that we would have actually bringing the client on board as well. And actually making sure that from their side, they have the best representatives to kind of drive this product forward. And in an ideal team from their side, you would encompass someone from marketing, because it also, it means they're not arriving late at the party. They're part of critical decisions that need to be made, critical decisions that do impact them. And they're also part of those discussions where they can actually bring a lot of context as well. And with my experience of building products over the years, it's not just down to one particular team that makes the product successful. It's down to everybody who's involved, like doing what they're supposed to be doing, pulling their weight and actually working collaboratively, with everybody else, and actually having the open communications within that company to make sure that product and the direction of that product kind of continues to move forward. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but I would say definitely marketing are a critical component to that moving part.
Yeah. I guess it just makes all the sense if you can have, I mean, from any creative endeavor, it just feels, it feels better to have all the personalities in the group, right?
Yeah.
So instead of just having all say yay sayers in the group, you also want to have the grumpy ones. You want to have the, at least if that's, I mean, if that's a problem for your product and for your company, and you're already in a huge problem if you have people that you can't work with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it makes.
And I was going to say that actually, as part of that, is actually just making sure that you involve them, and a lot of the benefits of having those discussions up front means that you do have that clarity and transparency for that team to move forward. And there's a lot of value in just the outcome of even just the discussions. I always used to think that, as a designer, I always used to think that the benefits of running a sprint were that, you're creating a prototype and they're able to kind of have something tangible in their hands really, really quickly. But for me, I found really early on, and as someone who was running and facilitating sprints, that actually the what I would call goosebump moments were actually when the team actually had that alignment, like right at the very beginning on that Monday. We would have discussions before Monday lunchtime when they would the client would turn around to me and go, how is this even possible? Like, we wouldn't have this much alignment in months. How have you done it in 3 hours? But they don't actually realize that the work that you do in the previous week to onboard everybody is kind of like where all the alignment actually happens.
Yeah, that's speak more about that. What comes to mind if I ask you, like, what's your biggest highlight moment in this space? Do you have a particular
highlight moments, as in products that I've worked on, or kind of just people that I've worked with, or like all of the above? I mean, I've had so many. Like, actually, Leap did its first sprint this year in Mexico City. So to actually just travel around and be, I actually took my wife Lisa with me. We had like a bit of a vacation there as well. So to kind of work on these really cool products for these companies that are really like trying to differentiate themselves from their competitors and be effective in doing so, and to see a bit of the world before all this coronavirus kind of bullshit kind of happened, is, for me, I feel really lucky that it will take us, other places around the world when everything relaxes. So for me, definitely, and that can even resonate back to, I lived in Dubai for 2 years. Like, my work took me to Dubai, and we were able to live in that crazy city for a couple of years and experience a completely different culture. And now I'm here, I live in Berlin, and when the sun is out, it feels like a holiday anyway. It just doesn't feel like a city that really takes itself too seriously. So for me, just like that's, personally, one of the kind of the big wins. The other, I would say, kind of big win from doing what I'm doing is just to work with the actual clients that we work with, and to kind of help kind of massive brands globally kind of solve very complex digital challenges. And, just to have, this small team or small company come in from Europe is just insane. Like, it blows your mind, kind of like what's kind of the potential, what you can do to help people using this process. And, and then I have to mention the people that I've worked with as well. There's like helping product teams on the client side get to work with so many talented people. And what goes to show is that, like, these people, they are very effective in their day-to-day work, but they are constantly seeking new tools that would help them, bring something to market much faster than anybody else. And if that's a combination of a sprint or another workshop or whatever, you know, it's a very honorable time to kind of be working with those people. So yeah, I get so many kicks out of all of my kind of day-to-day work. It's really, really cool.
So I'm going to put you then in a different spot. What about the most awkward moments you had?
Yeah. So I'm not going to mention it, but I had a sprint, and there was a discussion over a component of the product, and this was with a really senior team, and they couldn't get their heads around the fact that we just needed something tangible just to move forward with really, really quickly. And all it was a bit of copy for this kind of feature of this product, yeah. And they were kind of like spinning on it. And the decider, he was a really cool guy. You know, he was kind of really able to kind of just go, right, this is what we need, da, 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 da. And no one could really decide on a direction. So I randomly kind of just pulled together like a component of the sprint and just said, okay, you all have an idea of how this can be. You all literally do a note and vote on it. So you write down what these 3 features will be, and then you can all vote on them. And it was like, okay, great. I got myself out of a bit of a hole for that one. Everybody's now got 3 minutes to kind of define what these features are. And of course, everybody voted on their own version. But again, this is why we have a decider. So the decider was like, okay, great. He had a clear kind of direction of where to move forward. And it was still kind of like, there was still a lot of anticipation and anxiety over like, okay, like, and I had to summarize. I just said, look, to the guys, like, all we need is a decision to move forward. All we're going to do is put something in front of a user. We just want to get some data. And I had to say to them this line, and it was kind of one that got everybody just laughing. And I just said to them, you are not going to define the future of your products in a 3-minute exercise. And like all these guys are like going, well, great. Well, it would just kind of, it takes the pressure out of everything. But seeing them kind of stew on that, like that what they felt was immediate pressure, they had to kind of define something. And they felt that it was something that was going to be needed immediately and like literally go to like the app store.
This is going to define the future.
Yeah, it's like, you don't do that in 3 minutes. Like all we need is something, just a direction to move forward in. And then the data that we get back will then be enough to kind of show either whether you need this feature, and whether it's a part of dog shit or whether you really want to run with it. And it just means that we can kind of move forward with that. But that was a recent one for me. But there have been previous ones over the years where people, have either split companies because you have 2 co-founders that can't agree on something. Yeah. You have engineers in sprints that are, completely not trusting the process. And, you have to just say, look, just trust the process, like trust Jake. And if there's something not right at the end of it, then we can revisit it. So many things and I think that's also like just having the skill of a facilitator to just not be flustered in those situations, and to kind of reassure that client that even if something is going drastically wrong, you have to kind of have this facade and make them feel that this happens every week. And I think once they trust that you're able to kind of deal with that situation, then they are like, I don't want to sound rude, but like they're putty in your hands. They just need to feel like they're being looked after, and that their immediate situation is not going to derail anything. So yeah, there's been some over the few years, but it's been really interesting.
It's always interesting to hear what's because sometimes things don't run as you expected, and that puts you into a new pressure where you have to, and you're going to always keep that experience. So, like, okay, next time I come to this kind of point, then you already, you know how to move forward. So I think some people are just so scared from problems when actually the problems are the things that are, pushing us forward.
Yeah. And there's also points where, like, typically in a sprint, if something's going wrong from the client side, it's because something hasn't really been communicated properly. And I think as a facilitator, and this goes with any workshop as well, you just reiterate that we're using whiteboards. Nothing is really kind of set in concrete, and it's just to kind of move forward. And it kind of releases some of the tension that's out of the room. Like people feel like they are like committing to something and it's going to be set in stone. and it's not. It's just to kind of move forward. And of course, you can go back and revisit things. And there's been many discussions with deciders about before they're choosing a concept, or if you're running an LDJ, for example, people feel like they are suddenly committed very much to kind of the direction that workshop is moving on. But of course, it's not. It's just to kind of move forward, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. What was I thinking? So you founded your own company now, and I mean, that must be very exciting. I mean, you've done this kind of step before. I know you told me that, but now the situation is definitely different because suddenly we also have Corona thing going on. So how's that be for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jinx it. Like every day, I still need like a 32-hour day in order for me to do everything that I need to do. And I guess that's one of the trade-offs of establishing a brand and setting a brand up. I obviously would never have chosen to have this kind of year unfold the way that it did. But actually, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I always see the good in everything. And I feel that actually at the moment, it's enabled me to kind of really actually take a step back. I had this in my head, I had this trajectory of like, okay, where's Leap? What's it going to be doing? How many sprints are we going to be doing? How many clients do I want to have? And I still have that, but actually what it's taught me is it's just kind of, it's okay to pace things. And it's also like, I'm actually really almost just taking a step back and going, okay, do you know what? This first year is all about just establishing our brand, building content, building products, and kind of letting the kind of world know that Leap exists and that this is what we do. And I'm already kind of building on my reputation anyway, which is I've had some really great conversations already, and I've got some great inroads with some other like incredibly large like global design brands, with agencies, because they're also interested in kind of what I'm doing as well.
Yeah.
So to kind of have that kind of to be on the radar of those companies already is amazing, and that happened within like the first 6 weeks of me just like announcing Leap. And I'm also, I've got some pretty good clients that have also asked me to kind of be on their approved agency list as well. So to have this already in play is like crazy. I have to kind of almost pinch myself as well. And, my first client was Blinkist. And it's like, what a cool first client. Like, honestly, like it was so cool to be able to kind of help a company like that, and here in Berlin as well. Yeah. I have actively ongoing work with the healthcare product at the moment as well, which is, I have to say, like they are an amazing company, and I was asked to kind of be involved with them, and I nearly turned it down because it wasn't really what I was planning on doing for Leap. But actually to kind of provide a strategy, this is what I was saying earlier about the execution kind of sprints, to kind of apply that kind of perspective to an existing product in a strategy and UX role, it's been really, really great. And they've been they have been a really reliable client as well. So they're almost with the first couple of months that I had and this client, I haven't really had to worry at all about runway, and I can just take each month as it comes. And I have Balin, and he and I are just literally building something that's going to kind of really, hopefully, rock on for everybody in the world of product design. So yeah, I feel super happy. And the coronavirus thing has kind of, really kind of derailed our working space. Like Balin and I have only ever worked remotely together, but I feel like I've known him for years already. We have a lot of calls every day. Yeah. And pre-corona, the plan was to have him here in Berlin, and we would have co-working space, and we would start to kind of network out within Berlin as well. Yeah. And kind of enjoy working with each other. So I would say that's kind of been the biggest disruptor for me, that it just means that we have to kind of be, in isolation, but still kind of coordinating and planning and strategizing kind of the role of Leap.
So what's the background behind the name? I mean, on your Instagram handle is Be the Leap, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I wanted a call to action that would be kind of really like provocative of what LEAP actually stands for. So any of our email addresses will have our name and then be the LEAP. So as in be the LEAP within your company to kind of make that difference. And LEAP actually was, it was really interesting because I came up with so many names. I really wanted LEAP to be a brand. There goes a sticker there. Look. I really wanted the brand to be a cool enough brand. And my calibration was I would want to wear it on a cap or something. I wanted it to look so cool that I could wear it on a cap. Yeah. And for months and months, I was kind of spinning on names. We had like some really good names, and I would always spin them off with Lisa. And like, you know, we would kind of like have discussions about like, oh yeah, what about this or what about this? And then I would put them in front of the kids, and they would go, oh, like yeah, that's a really cool name, or you know, whatever. And the kind of the prerequisite for the name was that I think we were cycling across town, and we just started using jump bikes. And I just said to Lisa, I love how jump is just such a, like, it's such a motivating kind of name to just, you know, jump on a bike. And yeah. And actually it was Lisa that said, well, what about leap? And I was like, actually, that's quite cool. I actually quite like it. But there was something about it that kind of, for me, it wasn't like, it needed something, or it needed validation. But so it was kind of, it rose very quickly to the top of the list. And then when I was in London, I visited an old client of mine, and we had this conversation. I went to see his new office. He was in a WeWork space, and it was like a really inspirational place. And we ended up having like this whole morning together. He's like a CEO basically of this product now. And we ended up having this whole morning together, and we were kind of like offloading each other. Like he was telling me what his biggest problems were, and I was kind of telling him about Leap and like plans for it. And actually it was on the way out, we bumped into a couple of people that we knew. And basically this guy, he just introduced, he goes, oh yeah, like, you know, you met Rob, you know, Rob's now da 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 da. And he basically said a couple of sentences with the word leap in it on every sentence. And that was, for me, it was like, that was that aha moment. And I just said to him, I was like, you just said like my potential company name twice in 2 sentences describing like getting ahead of your competitor, or, you know, getting an advantage or whatever. I can't even remember the sentences now. And I just said to him, I said, you've just said the word. And I said, can you remember what that word is? Or do you know what that word is? And he just went, was it leap? And I went, yeah. And he goes, and he literally just fist bumped me, and he goes, fucking rock on. He goes, that's really cool. So for me, that was a validation that leap was the kind of the right, because, you know, existing or like, you know, past clients, they were kind of saying it in exactly the right, you know, frame set that I wanted it to be applied in. So validation done. And, you know, when it came to to actually name a company now, like getting leap.com, you know, you'd have to be basically a millionaire to kind of buy that. Plus also, well, there's a lot of other companies called Leap as well. And I just wanted to kind of make sure that they were differentiated a little bit. So officially the company name would be the Leap, but unofficially it's kind of Leap, but it's kind of Leap and then Be the Leap. But we're kind of pre-company at the moment. I have to say, it's not really an official company. I'm obviously being very strategic in kind of obviously the whole Corona stuff. And, you know, at the moment, I'm just kind of taking this year to kind of really just see what the potential is for it. But it will basically perform and operate like a company. And, you know, I have a team of people globally who are ready to kind of work with me depending on what the challenge is. And it's basically, this is kind of like the leaps assurance that you would be hiring a really elite team of people to kind of really come in and do some really complex problem solving. And that's basically, you know, what LEAP stands for. So I would be happy if, you know, when people think of LEAP, we're basically like an expert team that would go in to really help people at a critical time and give them like the best possible product that they could ever hope for.
Yeah. And what's the big leap for LEAP? What's the vision?
The big leap for LEAP is that, obviously just survive the whole COVID thing. I think if we can survive the COVID stuff, I think we'll be able to survive anything. Again, as well, I think it will be a leveler for the playing field. I think there'll be lots of companies that are offering sprints that maybe, you know, are probably overstretched right now with regards to resources and, you know, space. And it's a horrible thing, but I think there's going to be a lot of companies that really do struggle to stay, and it's really sad. And I'm just equally just trying to make sure that Ballant and I can keep going, and that Leap can be everything that I want it to be. And having done the brand sprint last week, we've got some really aggressive plans and strategies for being here in 2, 5, and longer as well. And we've had some really amazing conversations with big companies as well that are very keen to kind of watch what we do. So there's definitely some motivation there to kind of really build on something. But I don't want to build a company that's going to be 80 people. I just want to build something that people really appreciate, is something that is really good at what it does. And it's about, and almost if people feel like they really kind of feel lucky when they get a Leap engagement, so that we can really go in and help them. So for me, that's kind of where I want Leap to be.
So have you designed or have you defined any a dream client? What would that client be?
I have a list of clients that I would love to work for, or work with, I should say. For me, it's just at the moment, most of the clients tend to be kind of fintech and healthcare. So I'm not complaining. If that's the market sector, that's great. I'm also having conversations with a really, really cool client in New York, and they are such a randomly different kind of genre of client. It's going to be really. And I had conversations with them before I started working with Leap, and for me, it's this is kind of for me the ongoing kind of thing that I'll only be happy once we've actually worked with them. They are it will be an amazingly creative opportunity, I have to say. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting to see how everything develops. I think there are strengths in being small and decentralized in one sense, that we can see that in the fitness space, that we as small fitness business owners, we can change our direction pretty fast, and we can reinvent ourselves quite fast, and put new hats on ourselves to do new stuff, in comparison with a lot of the franchise companies out there. They are struggling, and I think many of them will probably need to close their doors, because their model will be broken now, and they are their staff, they don't have anything to do. They basically can't retain any of their clients. So it's a super bad situation for them. So sometimes being a big is, which for many people might be security, to be in a big company, for example, it might not be the most secure place at the moment. And I think that's this book by Nassim Talib. I'm blanking on his surname here. But
I've got it here. Is it the anti-fragile one? Is that
exactly. Yeah, you bought that one.
Yeah, I did. That was your recommendation.
Yeah. But in that book, he basically also says the bigger you are, the more centralized and everything, the harder you're going to fall. And but it's not going to be as often, but it's going to just be much more painful. So he had some good examples there. I don't know if I would agree on 100% of everything, but there's something in it that you can be more versatile. You can, go and you can just change directions on the spot without having huge overhead losses and stuff like that. So
but I have to say, I as much as you wanted me on this podcast, I find you very inspirational as well, in kind of what you've done with your CrossFit place, because it's it's like the brand as well. People are so dialed into you and your brand, and like even if people don't have a Richard kind of doing the CrossFit kind of tuition with them, it's somebody else, like Mark, for example, or Gerardo. Like it's the people that's why people want to do CrossFit with you guys. And I think that's a really important thing, and that really resonated with me as well with regards to kind of like when I was establishing what Leap is and what I wanted it to be. Like I remember we had this chat via Instagram a couple of weeks ago about the fact that you have this really cool brand and that you are able to kind of pivot. And I think it's down to the people. It has to be down to the people. And I think there's a lot of don't ever take that for granted, because I think that's kind of going to be something that will kind of see you through. And if for the rest of the year we're not allowed to do in-person events, I'm pretty sure that your team will kind of motivate all those people that were dedicated to kind of get up super early and go to your super nuts kind of CrossFit classes. Well, that will motivate them in their own home as well. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I always said that I would never do CrossFit if I didn't have someone like you to kind of really push me, because it's such a hard sport. You get, and as human nature, you get very kind of complacent with just doing kind of like, what you did yesterday or what you did the day before. Yeah. You need to be constantly pushed. And, you guys have a good knack for being really firm, but also super fair about how you do that. So yeah, it's a lot of admiration for what you've done there as well with Escapist.
Thank you very much for those humbling words. I'm super grateful for the people and everything. And I think like right now our benefit is we from last week we were allowed to start training people outdoors. So basically we're just this morning, like 7:30 when I came, we already had people training here outdoors.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. And we had people training here all day until noon today. So it's been really awesome. And and now when we kind of pivoted and started with this with the online coaching thing, it sounds a bit like a plug when I'm talking about it, but it's not meant to be. It's more me reflecting, because we're actually reaching more people now. So today I had a talk to a guy that we were coaching here 3 years ago, but he doesn't live in Berlin anymore. But he was like, "Oh, you're online now? Okay, I'm in." So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And actually, for your business model, that's great, because you can reach far more people that way as well.
This is now when it really starts to make a difference what kind of brand you have, and that you how you communicate, and and it's not about conquering the world either. So it's more about like finding the ones that you can help, and I think that's the same thing for you. You want to be working with the companies that you can help, and not the guys that just want to I don't know not have help. So
build any product. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was great catching up with you, Rob.
Likewise.
We definitely need to catch up for like a live latte someday.
We do. Yeah, I look forward to that very much.
Yeah, and we both have second calls to go into, but it's at least super nice to be able to do this and talk to people over this. It's not super great. Maybe this is a product that we can work on. How can we make these video calls a bit more natural, because all the time when you're talking, somebody starts talking, it just gets like a big mess.
Exactly. And also, just thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast as well. I know that you've spoken about it for a long time, so again, feel very humbled to be one of your guests as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like to see this as an experiment and just the best excuse to be able to have a coffee with someone, or at least virtually.
Yeah, my coffee cup has gone. Lisa took it away, but I do have a very healthy egg sandwich waiting for me afterwards. So.
Yeah. Take care of yourself, Rob. We speak in a couple of days, and hopefully not too long.
Yeah, stay well as well, Richard. Yeah, take care.
Yeah.
All the best. Bye.